next to a book of her hair that she's been pulling out, and then I was also doing this, and then eventually like eating the bulb, like the main character in the movie, and yeah, you know, you research this stuff and you see how it's like it could be very, very severe, and it's very common. Like all the cases of the medically accurate hairball are mostly in young women, like, you know, between 6 and 20.
So that's the most normal time to eat hair.
Yeah.
Good to know, thank you. And thanks for an amazing and very unique story. How many times have you seen it, all in all? Because you had your...
My own film?
This one now, which time in line is it?
What do you mean? Like how many times have I watched my own film?
Yeah, how many times have you seen it yourself?
Oh, well, you know, you work on it for a while and then you watch it. And then we screened it. I watched it at the premiere in Venice, and I watched it at a festival in Germany called Oldenburg, and then I was done. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, you know, it's these situations are better when I haven't just seen it, because it's like emotional to watch your own movie, kind of, in a way.
I'm sure it was emotional to watch it for more people as well. So tell us a bit about you, because this is your debut as a feature film.
Yeah, this is my first feature film.
And you had your premiere in Venice.
Yeah, well, it was, you know, we were very lucky for that, because it was kind of cobbled together very, like, you know, we didn't have any traditional financing. It was just sort of friends who were sick of me talking about making this movie, and then decided that, you know, now is the time.
So that's a big congratulations on that. And now you're traveling with your film. How long was this process? Because it started with a short, right?
Yeah, so I wrote a script, which was this movie, and I was like, I don't know how to make this. It was basically the last half. Like the script started when the main character got to the lumber yard, and most of the movie took place like in that warehouse. And then I was like, I don't know how to make this, but I have another idea where instead of a surgery, someone throws up a hairball at this other location. And that was the short, and it was like the same actor, same cinematographer. It was more like a test to see if this type of story could work. And my regrets for the short film was that it wasn't explicit enough in like the makeup. Like there was no, we didn't have quite the makeup we had going on in this. And so I was like, okay, well, if I make a feature, I have to get very deep into this world.
Yeah, because all the characters, every person we meet, even though it's a short period of time or a long period of time, they are very like sculptured out. They are very much themselves in every aspect.
Thank you. You mean like the bit parts and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, it's like my favorite thing to do is to cast like people who aren't necessarily actors or the first time actors or you know, real people, whatever, for the smaller scenes, because it's like for one day that works. Like, you know, what makes someone a good actor isn't necessarily how good they could be in one scene. It's like what if they have the temperament to come back every day and do it all over and over every day. But for some of the scenes where the character just has one scene, a lot of those actors are not trained actors.
And like the man singing, for example?
That was the landlord of the warehouse that we filmed in. The actual landlord, yeah.
Okay, that's nice. So you was casting and location scouting at the same time.
Yeah.
Efficient.
You know, we met him and he was just like, that was the guy. So we just begged him to do it. Yeah.
And I can also see that you've been like very much into choosing the places to shoot and like having all the requisita props set up and like you weren't lazy.
Yeah, I did a lot of the locations, the scouting, and you know, you want the locations to be like, if it's like a crutch. Like if the characters in the story doesn't get across this feeling, maybe these locations could help too. And it's all connected. Like,
which was your best place to where did you feel that you could work the best out of this script?
I really liked the junkyard, and the guy that was in the junkyard, he was like a friend of the person that owned the garbage truck. So we were filming in my living room because I'm making an independent film, and the guy that brought the garbage truck brought a friend for some reason, and he was just like talking in my living room about how Quentin Tarantino was a nut job, and I was like, we need to cast him as the guy in the junkyard.
Nice. So when you do independent films in New York, right?
Yeah.
How do you start? You say you two had some friends and whatever, but tell us more.
I went on unemployment, and that would be funny in New York because like everyone would look down on me. And yeah, we filmed in February because not many people get jobs in February, so it was like a good way to make sure no one left the production, because there were a few people working for free, and some people, if they were going to get evicted, you had to pay them a little bit, and yeah, you just sort of like try to be a nice person, try to have good food, and maybe they won't leave the production.
That sounds great, because the people in your film didn't really eat much except hair.
Yeah, you know, some soup, some hair. Yeah.
But the crew did. That's nice. And like when you were doing the surgery sceneries and the more bloody events, how was it to build up those sequences?
Yeah, that's like those types of scenes are like very technical. They're not like fun to do. It's just sort of like very tense because like the body double we were using was like leftover from another movie, and there was only one of them, so you only have like one go at like, you know, stabbing it, and you're like hoping it works out. And same with like the makeup. Like it could rip at any moment, and like you want your actors to feel free, but also they can't move around too much because then they'll rip, and then that takes like 3 hours to like stitch back together.
So there's a lot of handcraft going on there, and like the story in itself, the theme of the story. What you say that you take from your own person and your mother, this hair picking thing.
Yeah, mostly like. Yeah, for myself. Also, like the main character is sort of a combination of myself and my dad. Like the parent characters are kind of like my dad's parents, and my dad, like, you know, was a like superintendent and a like truck driver and a garbage man in Chicago, like in the 60s or 70s, no, 60s, yeah, and then everything else is sort of like, well, if I, you know, pull out my hair and eat it, well, I can also, all these other things that I think about, they're all related in some way, like my anxieties and like towards like romance and all that stuff. Like I try not to intellectualize it too much and just sort of write like a personal story. And, you know, maybe next film I'll sort of remove myself and have it be about other characters, not just myself.
We'll see. And now I turn myself out to all of you. And then we have a question right here.
Hi. First time listener. First time caller. Your music, your soundtrack, I think would be impressive for a $30 million movie. And yet, this is like a no-budget movie.
Yeah.
So I was hoping you could speak a little about how you accomplished such an amazing music job with so little finances.
Yeah, it's a great question. So, you know, when writing a script, I have all these songs I want to use. Naturally, I can't use any of them because they're all, you know, there's always some sort of issue with like the rights of like who owns this. And my music supervisor, who is a friend, he works in the world of music licensing. So he has relationships with a lot of labels, and he gets these labels lots of money for big films. And in return, he was able to negotiate on a few select labels, sort of a gratis or very, very low budget, like we basically had like access to a bunch of music from like Miami on this like one label, and we could like pick through like 5,000 like old 45s, and we try to pick as many that were similar to the music I really wanted to use. And there was only like one song that like we knew we were using by the time we were filming, which was like the main song, the Funkadelic track, like when they're pulling each other's hair out, or whatever. And yeah, so you know, I had to be an adult about that and only pick music that we knew we had the rights to, all media in perpetuity, forever. And yeah, but it's just like an obscure label in Miami called Henry Stone Music, or Dade Records, Glades Records. And a lot of that music is like has been sampled by like Kanye West and Drake like in the last like 2 years. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's great. So if you would have decided all yourself, it would be even better. Maybe.
Yeah. Oh, I think so. Yeah.
Question again? Oh, I'm coming back.
Hi. Thank you. It was a great film. Mesmerizing. Fantastic. Congratulations. You've said quite a few things now about where some of the hair stuff and all that that it came from your family, but I was hoping you'd answer still, and I'm sure I'll get something interesting off it. We all will. How did you conceive this idea, and what drove you to make this film?
Yeah, well, I wanted to make a relationship movie, and I wanted to make a movie about a character with like a mild sort of addiction or a mild tendency who meets a character with a severe version of that, and like what they're willing to do to get on that level. Kind of like if like a mild smoker meets a chain smoker. I thought that would be interesting for somewhere between a horror and a romance. And why I decided to make that, there's a sense of desperation, right? There's a desperation in the main character, this desperation to make a film, to express yourself, to, want to come to one of these film festivals and talk about it. Filmmakers make movies because they have all these sort of inarticulate thoughts and feelings and moods in their brains, and they want to articulate them. The only way you could do that is in a movie, So the movie is less about an intellectual thing and more like a way to express a feeling, and that's what I wanted.
Thanks, and then there's a question here.
Thank you. I have two questions. The first, I'm amazed to hear about your management of resources here. So I was just curious to know what is actually a budget for your film.
I'm always told not to say anything, but it's.
Oh, you were about to say the budget. You're about to say the exact budget number.
Maybe let's take this one. Yeah. Okay, after this, we're having this drums now for the budget, and after that is the last question.
All I could say is that, there are cars more expensive.
Okay, last question. We have a last question. Okay, then I go back to the man in the back because he had another question.
Well, I think I can say
Yes.
that like
Yeah.
I was curious, if you have this type of a hair stone or whatever, I suppose it's in the stomach, and it seemed like he was making the incision through the gut, but not through the stomach. How do you think?
That is the correct incision for the surgery to remove atrachopesor. It's like an upper midline, so it is in the stomach.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. I looked it up. That's all I could say. Maybe it's inaccurate, but like we were looking at pictures, we were like, this is right. But maybe it's not.
Okay, one more.
It's a kind of a stupid question. I'm sorry. I'm just so curious. Was Kyle also hairless?
Yeah, he was supposed to be bald. There was like, someone told him he shouldn't shave his head for the movie. And so we, off the record, just kidding, nothing. We had a different actor that like looked more like the Kyle I had in my brain, but it didn't work out performance-wise, so we went with a different actor last minute, and this doesn't really work. And he refused to shave his head, but so we're like, okay, whatever, we'll put a hat on him the whole time. Maybe someone will have that idea in their brain that he has no hair yet.
Okay.
But he's not a hair. He wasn't. That was not intended for him to be like a. It was just that never posed an issue with his relationship because he doesn't have hair. That's it.
Okay. Thank you so much for being here. Congratulations.